We're in Cardiff, the capital city of Wales, and it's changing. Is that a good thing? Yes, we're back in our capital city of Wales, Cardiff. And although it's a very young capital city by comparison to so many around the world, it stands proud. And as I said, it's constantly developing and changing. And what we want to do today is share during our visit here a few iconic buildings that have certainly seen some change. From the 19th century to the 20th century, and on the dawn of the 21st century and beyond, Cardiff is changing at such a pace. And the first of those iconic buildings is Cardiff Castle. Now we're at the back door of the castle, because round at the front, the traffic is so busy, the city is so loud. So we've come round to Bute Park, the lands that were once the garden of those who lived here. Of course, long before the third Marquess of Bute turned this into a luxury home, the castle first came into play when the Romans arrived. Yes, they built a fort here, one of the first of a series, way back 2,000 years ago. Then the Normans arrived, and today the keep that they built still stands proud over the castle green. But it was the third Marquess that created so much of what we now see. From the spiring towers that are so dreamy in that Victorian Gothic style, right through to the opulence that he had on every hand, because ultimately he was one of the richest men in the world in his day. And being one of the richest men in the world, he could certainly afford the best. And as far as he was concerned, the best was William Burgess, a man renowned throughout the land and around the world for his interpretation of the Gothic style in Victorian Britain. And it is down to his skill and ability that the Marquess was gifted a dream world that he had imagined, and now stands proud in the centre of Cardiff. But even in his day, things were changing, and as the world moved on, so did the city, and the traffic grew in intensity. Not as it is today, but there was need for Duke Street, right in front of the castle, to get wider, and that meant things had to get moved.
Hello, Mr. Robbie. You want to be on YouTube? This is interesting. It's a cobbled road leading to the castle, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but the middle of the road is like humped and it goes down to either side, which is a brilliant idea for keeping the road dry. All the water runs off to the side, and you can get your horse and cart, or your horse and carriage, or even just your horse to the castle without getting covered in mud and bogged down. Unfortunately, it's got a lot of mud in it now, and as you can see, I got bogged down. There's about 2 inches of mud there. Ugh.
Yes, while the majestic trees here in Bute Park continue to grow and witness all of the change around them, there was a wall right along the front of the castle entrance that had to head down the street a little. But when they moved the wall, it was such an attraction with those stone animals that had been created in the imagination of William Burgess, but actually carved after his death and put into place, that those in charge of the relocation decided that they would extend the wall all the way down to the entrance, the new entrance for the grounds. And in order to do that, they added to the original animals another set of 6, so that they could get that flow going along. And there is such a varied collection there, from the 2 lions holding their shields that were in the originals, right through to one of Manky's favourites, the anteater. One of the ways you can tell the difference between the originals and those that came later was those originals had glass eyes. something that they didn't invest in the 1930s when Thomas Nicholas carved and created the additional 6. But I think they all look stunning. What do you think?
And let me know, did you see that squirrel running up the tree? I could see him from where I was standing. He went right up the tree with a nut in his mouth. He got all the way up there. Squirrels love it here. They're everywhere, but they don't like being on camera. I'm trying to catch them, but they're too fast for me. Well, catch them on camera, not in my hand.
Today, while there is a fee charged to enter the castle, it is still open for us to visit because it was gifted to the city by the 5th Marquis of Bute. And of course, all of these gardens are open and free to visit, with all the glorious trees and the lovely parklands to enjoy. Some of you may remember Caroline and I visited here a couple of years ago for the Christmas light display, but that's another story and another video.
We'll put a link in the description down there and you can check that out if you want to. It was beautiful.
Good idea, dear. But of course, while everything was happening on this side of town and grand places were being developed and built, the city was changing as a whole. And in fairness to the Marquises of Bute, they made their mark on the city. But on the far side of the city, there was another famous Victorian at work. And that was Isambard Brunel.
Oh, look at this. We were looking for somewhere to stand and I found this. I didn't know what it was, but I think it must be a well. And it's all bolted down there. But look, there's a little bit I can lift here. Have a look, see what's down there. I don't know if you can see anything. I can see down a little way, but I'm not tall enough to see any further. So let me know if there's anything interesting down there. Right, back to filming.
Yes, one of the things that was driving the growth of cities such as Cardiff was the expansion of the railway lines. Up and down the valleys, joining the cities, not only serving the people here in the city of Cardiff, but also bringing to Cardiff all of the black gold that was flooding from the mines up in the valleys beyond. Bringing them down to Cardiff Port, which was one of the biggest, richest and busiest ports in the world. And Brunel was looking for a site that was right for Cardiff. And he found it. But the perfect spot that Brunel chose had a problem. It was constantly being flooded by the River Taff. Not a problem for the likes of Brunel. Being the man he was, he simply arranged for the engineering works that would move the river to the west and create the perfect spot. Now, the building we see today, the iconic building with the Great Western Railway logo right across its front and all of those glorious light fittings that just scream of the era in which they were built, are obviously not Victorian. No, we're moving into the 1930s, and the architect Percy Culverhouse, chief architect for Great Western Railways, was commissioned with coming up with a replacement for the wooden structure that Brunel had left in place. And what a cracking job he did, because today it stands proud, admittedly among buildings that have no relation to its time and place, surrounded by the glass and the steel and the concrete of everything, including the BBC buildings. But there it is, standing proud, and inside there is so much of the Art Deco world. Admittedly, the light fittings are duplicate copies of the exact light fittings that were originally there, placed there in 1999 when they were funded by the Railway Heritage Fund. But the job that was done, restoring that place to its former glory, means that we are still able to enjoy the beauty of a bygone age. But that's not the only thing that was happening in 1999, because just across the road from the station is our third iconic location in Cardiff City. Yes, it was at the dawn of the 21st century that Cardiff got the Millenium Stadium. 1999, that's when it opened, and what a feat of engineering. An amazing achievement, with the roof that can be closed or open depending on the weather conditions, and holding over 70,000 people on a match day. But of course it doesn't only serve for rugby matches, it also became the replacement venue for the FA Cup while Wembley was being rebuilt, and many a star has performed here at the Millenium Stadium, including one of Manky's favourites, Mr. Tom Jones. Because Cardiff is a vibrant city, it's full of all manner of things: theatres, music, there is hotels, there are restaurants. Caroline and I are actually in Cardiff today as we continue our celebration of our wedding anniversary, because our eldest child and two eldest grandchildren, they've gifted us afternoon tea at Café Rouge, which we are looking forward to. But what I love about the Millenium Stadium, or I suppose I should call it the Principality Stadium now because it's changed its name, but for all of the engineering, the bells, now that's one sound I don't mind. We're trying to avoid the traffic for you today. They've stopped. Okay, back to the filming. The one thing that I love about that stadium
it's 11 o'clock, I think so. We've got 11 bogs.
There we go. It's starting to, this is reminding me of Soissons when we filmed a year ago in France.
Oh, that was really bad.
The bells.
We haven't been... Oh, no. Is that it?
No.
Has anybody been counting? No, it's still going. That's still going. It'd be better if this was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Should we go have a cup of tea and come back? Oh, it stopped. Right. Carry on again.
But what I love about the Millenium Stadium is the fact that it's located where it is. Cardiff Arms Park was the home of Welsh rugby for so long, and there was so much talk of building an out-of-town mega stadium. But the heart of the people, the heart of the nation, it won the day, and now the Grand Stadium stands right on the very spot that Welsh rugby has always been played. It took a lot of work to get that huge place in amongst the buildings, but it sits there now as a proud display of engineering ability that has come through from the Romans to the Normans to the Lords of Glamorgan to the Marquesses of Bute, right through that Victorian era. We had, I've forgotten his name, Brunel. We had Isambard Kingdom Brunel put his mark on the place, followed then by Culverhouse when he built that grand and beautiful station. but right into the 21st century, Cardiff is still cutting edge, leading the world, and we still have great rugby there. I'm so proud of our capital city here in Cardiff, and I love the way in which it is constantly developing, and I love to share with you all the beauty of the buildings that are around us.
This is the prices for getting into Cardiff Castle, but I will show you this of interest. You've got the public square, where you've got the outer green, the cafe, the gift shop and the visitor info point, and the price is free access. So I think that's lovely that you can actually be within the castle walls for nothing, and then you've got prices for entry and then for going to tours and the Black Tower Tales and the Clock Tower tour. So you can spend up and up and up, but if you're on a budget, free access to Cardiff Castle can't be bad. We've just come through the north gate, which looks very grand, but if you look carefully you can see the stonework at the bottom is different to the rest of it. That's because it's been restored. But this up here is the original 11th century Norman keep with the flag on the top. We've got a wonderful flag with a big red dragon on. Very exciting. And there is the moat where you can see there are rushes and lots of lilies and rather overgrown, but I don't think it's such a big thing nowadays. I don't think this keep is liable to get rushed by bandits today. And not only have we got an amazing dragon on our flag, but we have dragon statues everywhere. And there is a rumour, and I can't say it's true, but I've heard a rumour that hidden somewhere in all these rocks that this dragon is stood on is an actual dragon's egg waiting to hatch, and the only way to keep it safe is to hide it amongst other rocks because they look very much like a rock. Can you see any that looks like a dragon's egg? I wonder which one it would be. Ooh, big house. Let's have a look what they've got in the window here. Cornish heavy cake, ice bakewell tarts, croissants. Oh, look at those orange donuts for Halloween. And we've got jam donuts, very small those jam donuts. Almond and apple slice, that looks delicious. But what I'm looking at, look at this, caramel swirl meringue, lemon drizzle meringue, raspberry eaten mess meringue, and giant chocolate giant Swiss meringue. Num 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 num. And for the savoury lovers, we got traditional Cornish steak pasty, £2.95 for a small, £4.50 for a medium, and £5.50 for a large. You should smell that.
I noticed you didn't mention a giant one for £6.20.
Oh, is that? There we go, £6.20 for a giant one. I love these silly book titles, all with Welsh references. Some like It's Splot, 50 Shades of Hay, East of Ely, and The Da Vinci Code. Very Welsh, very humorous. It's made me laugh.
Well, here we are at the end of our journey. We're at Café Rouge and about to enjoy an afternoon tea. Hope you've enjoyed the video and those beautiful iconic buildings here in Cardiff City. If you have, please give us a thumbs up.
Doing, doing, doing.
And don't forget, till the next time, have fun. Bye.
Bye.